So welcome back, everyone. We're back into our deep dive into Salesforce administration and development. Just kind of getting back into things here, waiting for people to join us. But up until now, I've been working on our project. So I'll go ahead and just bring that up now. There it is. No, it isn't. There it is. Okay. So far, what have we done? Well, the first thing that we did is that we decided what our sales process is. And we noted that the sales process is our step-by-step process from, in this case, we want to turn a potential client into a new client. So an opportunity that comes in that is interested in renewable energy, we want our process to be able to handle that. So the first stage that we had was open, and that meant that nobody really looked at it yet. It just came in, probably just got converted over from a lead situation. So it would be in an open status. And then we had our assessment stage, which means that we're going to go out and do our initial inspection and kind of count kilowatt hours is what we're doing there. We're getting a dollar amount that shows how much they're currently spending on energy at the facility. And then after that, we have our proposal, which a proposal, hang on one second, I've got an Alexa alarm going off here. One moment, please. I do apologize. So we have our proposal, which happens when we do the assessment. We decide what products and services we would recommend, and from that we give them a breakdown of what their energy savings over time might be based on what we propose. And then we had our upgrade, which was we're actually physically managing the upgrade. Meaning the construction work itself. And both of these, proposal and upgrade, we're going to phase 2, right? We're not doing that immediately. I would normally do this with something like Conga Composer. There would be some third-party applications I would probably integrate here. So we're not going to deal with those in this course, but be aware that we totally could. Our sales pitch is the proposal. We want to show as much energy savings over time as we can, because that's where the buying decision is going to be made.
Hey Brian, are you showing something on the screen? We're seeing
you're looking at the wrong screen. Sorry guys, I'm just looking at the project here.
Okay.
There we go. I'm just going through this piece here. So we had the upgrade. That's where the proposal is our buying decision. We give them the proposal based on the products and services that we add to the opportunity, and they would decide whether they wanted to move forward. The key point of understanding there is that the proposal is the sales pitch. We have to show as much energy savings over time as we can. Then we have the upgrade, which can be managed as far as managing our construction work that's happening. And then after that, we have what we call a quality assurance inspection, and that means that we're literally doing the assessment again, but this time it's on what we install. So what we're trying to show here is that what we proposed came true to a certain percentage of or degree of precision. And then finally, when we're finished, it's closed won. So that's the first thing we did. And then we had to build that process into Salesforce by adding it to the stage pick list, which, what do we call the stage pick list on the opportunity?
Sales.
Sales process.
So the problem, once we did that, so we said, okay, we've got our stage pick list here, we filled them all out, but the problem was what? Once we added all of our stages, what was the problem?
There were still other ones in there that we didn't care to see.
Yeah, we have more than one what?
So the record type or?
Well, yes, but really it's business process, right?
Right.
So we have more than one business process. So we can't just have one page layout anymore. If you remember, how many page layouts can we have per profile per object. Just the one, right? For page layouts. And then with record types, we could add more. So what we have here is 2 separate record types that we needed to isolate. But the first thing I did is I went in and I got all of our standard objects to record type at that point. I said, okay, for our standard objects that we're going to use, we'll just go ahead and get them to our minimum standard of quality, which is record type. So we did that already. We had our standard objects. We got them all to record type. We had a couple for accounts. We had one for contacts, a couple for opportunities, one renewable energy, and one fossil fuels. Then we said, okay, what else are we going to need? Other than what standard functionality can meet as far as our requirements, we realized that there was a few things that standard functionality couldn't meet. And that was our custom objects. So we went ahead and we created those with the process in mind. What are we trying to accomplish on the assessment? Well, we're trying to accomplish scheduling and completing it. So the process is literally a tick list called status. Open, scheduled, and completed was our process for the assessment. And the same thing with quality assurance. The business process on the assessment is that status tick list. The business process on the QA or the quality assurance object is the status tick list. And we created all of that using schema. We created the objects first. So we did our standard objects first. Then we added our custom objects in the form of other objects and then our relationship fields. And we added those thinking about where they're going to end up as far as the fact that they're going to be related lists. Where do I want this information to show up for the user? With good utilization of schema, you can see it, you can visualize it without having to go in as the user and look at it. So we did all of our different relationship fields. Has everybody gotten to this point where they have all of the objects and the relationships at the very least? Does anybody need any help getting to this point? Because it would be helpful to see it and troubleshoot it, if so. So after we created our relationship fields and we related our custom objects back to our standard objects, we then created all of our other fields, didn't we? And we had our different data types. What's a data type?
A currency, text.
Yeah, it's the standard data validation is the words you'll hear used on the exam. Standard data validation. It is a way of isolating or protecting our fields in our tables to where we're not entering phone numbers into email fields and text into number fields. That's data type. So we created all of our different data types that we would need. For our standard objects, I have a few highlighted here. I probably ended up doing less than these values in class as far as the actual fields. But if this would be an example of, choosing different fields to add to the page layout, because the idea is we wanted to get them all to record type. Here's an example for the customer record type on the account object. We also created a competitor record type in class. For this one, we just need customer. And then we had the contact record type. We just needed the one. We didn't need more than one because we didn't feel like there was going to be more fields needed on a page layout for multiple contact record types. So one for renewable energy and one for fossil fuels. But we're going to use the same record type for both. Then we created our record types for ops, which there were two. One would have been for fossil fuels, the other for renewable energy. Renewable energy being the one that we're working on this project. Somebody have a question?
When you relate the master details object, and then you want to create, like, let's say, a calculation formula, like cost or something.
Cross-object formula?
Cross-object formula. I've got the connection. I've got the master detail, but there's no I can't pick a field from the other object.
Is this Birdie?
Yeah.
Here, let me give you the presenter.
I was afraid of that.
Well, it'll be good to see. There you go. So if you could share.
I don't know if anyone else had that problem.
I'm sure they did. Did you try and do it in schema would be my first question.
Yeah.
So can anybody tell me the limitations of schema? Just as memorized?
Field level security, page layout, and
Record type.
record type. Yes.
You know, it's field, let's see, tabs,
Oh, tabs. Okay.
right? So if we create an object in schema, we must create the tab. It doesn't automatically give us the wizard, as if we did it through the object manager. Number 2 was what?
Page layout.
Page layout. It's not going to add things to the page layout for us. Field level security was 1, right? What's the last one?
Cross-object formulas.
Yeah, we cannot create cross-object formulas in schema.
Ah, okay.
So if you go back to your Salesforce org there,
Uh-huh.
not the project, but your actual, your org, your
Yeah.
training organization that you're building it in.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I can't get to it here.
Oh, you're good.
What's going on?
All right, we got time.
Let me see if I can grab it. Okay.
Okay, so instead of trying to do it from schema, go to the object. So which one's going to be the child for this master detail relationship?
I think it was asset.
Assessment?
So assessment to summary and to saving summary. And I wanted to see if, I don't know how to remove that line, the one-to-many. Or do you
Okay,
have to
so
remove
you're
it?
talking about the master detail relationship field called assessment name on saving summary? Is that one you're pointing to right there? At the
Yeah.
very top? Do you see the little octopus at the bottom of the tentacle there?
Yeah.
It's got like the 3-pronged point. That
Yeah.
always means it's the child. Okay. So you
This
want
is-
to remove that? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Do I have to remove the field?
No, because you're just trying to create the cross-object formula, right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Right now, we have a many-to-many relationship with a junction object. Does everybody see that?
Do we?
Do you guys see the many-to-many with a junction?
Between saving summary and what else?
Well, if you notice, quality assurance has a master detail where saving summary is the detail. See it?
Yep.
And then assessment also has a master detail relationship where assessment
Nice.
is the master.
Yeah.
That configuration means it is a many-to-many with a junction object. So what you're trying to do, from what I can see here, is you're probably trying to pull information from assessment to saving summary, right, with a formula? Which formula are you trying to create?
Yeah, and that's the question. Let me see, because I've forgotten now.
Yeah,
I have to
no,
check. I think it was it cost? It was an object called cost. A field called cost, I think.
Let's see. So there you go. So, oh, I'm looking at my screen, not yours. There we go. Scroll down a tad for me.
Yeah. This is just standard object.
You guys see how he has so many tabs open?
Yeah,
It's killing his RAM,
yeah.
which will slow performance, not only in Lightning, but just generally. I try and force myself to keep it to less than 4. I'm constantly managing that because it equates to what I consider productivity.
Yeah, I just get complacent with that.
Oh no, believe me, I was the guy that had, like, when I was in sales, I had a million tabs open. But as an admin and developer that's usually working in multiple orgs at once, and especially with training through screen sharing tools like this, you really have to manage those. Here we go. So cost, I think you said, right? Or no, on saving summary.
I'm looking for cross object. I think these aren't cross object. Let me see.
Well,
this one.
They're all, I think most everything is cross object. So you need, let's see what you have in schema.
Yeah, this one here, yearly energy savings, where it's assessment name.
Okay,
Cost.
so here's the question. If you look at your org, which object do you want the field to go on?
It's going to go on assessment, isn't it?
Well, cost is already on assessment.
Cost, yeah.
What you want to do here is you're trying to take cost minus, what was the other one? Cost minus
Saving.
Quality assurance name, cost.
Cost minus cost, right? So think about this theoretically or logically as opposed to what we're going to do, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the assessment cost, which was the cost in dollars that they were spending before we implemented it, right? Then we're going to take whatever was on the QA, the quality assurance side, and we're going to subtract that. So what if we were to see a negative number here? What would that mean?
That means they didn't have any savings.
Yeah, that means that we screwed up, right? Okay, so what we're trying to do is on the saving summary object, we're trying to pull these pieces over through a cross-object formula. Do you see your QA there? And you got your assessment? So you want the field to go on the child or the detail record. And in this case, you're pulling one from one side and one from the other. Do you see that? You're gonna pull one value from your formula from the assessment, and then you're gonna pull the other value from your formula to the QA. So what we need is a formula field on saving summary, but we can't do it through schema. So go to the object manager and find your saving summary object. You can only do calculation with the formula in schema on one object at a time. It doesn't have the functionality for cross-object formulas. Through the object manager, you do. But we need to go to the child or detail object first. So find the saving summary object. There you go. And we want to put a new field on it. What do we want to call it?
Cost, was it?
Was it total savings, I think? If you look on the, I think it's total savings or something in the project.
I see.
Yearly energy savings. Because then at the end of the day, we're going to take the yearly times the years of use and get total.
The yearly energy savings is the formula field, yeah.
So let's call the field on the saving summary object. Let's call it yearly energy savings. So select new under fields and relationships under saving summary. And we'll call it yearly energy savings. What return type do we want?
Currency.
Yep, because it's dollars, right?
Yeah.
So yearly energy savings is the field label.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
All right, now, if you go into your editor here, go to the advanced formula tab in the editor. And what we want is you want to insert field. It's a little button right in the center of the screen. It says insert field. That says insert operator. Insert field's to the left.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it's hiding right there. There you go. And then this time it's important to note, if you want to go cross object, in this case, if you see that first box on the left, we are in the saving summary object. You see the little caret next to saving summary, and we're in that object. So those are all of the fields in the saving summary object listed by name there, by field label. What we want is we want to grab the cost field from the assessment object. Well, you're not going to find it in the saving summary object. You have to go to the assessment object using the little caret next to the field name.
Ah,
Now we're cross object. So now you can grab cost, insert, and then we're going to put a subtraction operator.
can I just punch it
Yeah,
in?
that's fine.
Okay.
And then we're going to insert field again, only this time we're going to go cross object on the quality assurance, not assessment, but QA. So find your, actually, no, go down. You're good. In the second up, go back. Insert field. So in box 2, right now you're in saving summary, right? Those are the fields on saving summary, but we want to go to the quality assurance object. See the little caret next to QA? Boom. Now we can do cost there. You cannot do that in schema. That was the problem that you were having.
That's what I was trying to do, yeah.
Yep. I figured that would be a good case study for us at once. That's why I didn't just answer you.
Okay, no problem. That's good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, just a few things that I've got to finish up on, then it's all done.
No, that's cool.
Mm,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
I mean, if you've gotten this far, you're doing pretty good, right?
Thank you,
Especially
yeah.
if you've never seen this before at all.
Back in the day, they used to call it an entity relationship diagram.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty familiar with it, but you call it schema.
Yeah, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
What happened to you, Salesforce? There we go. Anybody else need any help getting just the fields and objects created?
So every time you need a field which is master details, it has to be built on the child, right? That's the
The field always goes on the child or the detail, regardless of relationship type.
okay.
The only thing that's going to go on the master or the parent is going to be a roll-up summary field.
Roll up summary, okay.
Because that's pulling from the detail back to the master, right?
Yeah, it's true. I guess I have to play with it to really appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean, to really appreciate it, you have to work a project.
Yeah.
On your own, right? I mean, all of this comes down to you have to work in a real production situation. That's the only way you're really going to learn it. What I'm trying to do is just shave the rough edges off enough to where you don't make really common mistakes. Because I'm constantly making mistakes. I mean, for instance, today I'm trying to do a partner role insert in a professional edition org. And I mean, I've been 3 days trying to get this thing to take, and it will not take. Dataloader.io is not answering my calls for help. You know, So I'm trying everything to make this happen. It's just, I'm doing other things in the meantime, right? It's not the end of the world, but I'm constantly running into issues for a million different reasons.
Right.
But I just don't want you to make really serious mistakes. Like you go in and just start making master detail relationships willy-nilly, like not paying attention. Does everybody see why that's a bad idea?
Hmm.
So my org here, I think I've got all the fields. Does anybody remember where we left off by chance? Why don't we go into the, I've had my head in Excel sheet for a while now, so pardon me if I'm a little bit crispy. It happens to the best of us, right? I'm just going to go through and make sure that I have all of the fields listed as far as my these objects here. So I'm going to pull this over and we'll just go through them and make sure I have them. Let's see, do I have record types for these yet? I do not. Okay. So on the assessment object, I've got name, assessor cost, cost per kilowatt hour, date time, kilowatt hours per year, opportunity name, potential cost, potential savings, status, but no record type. So I think it looks to me like what happened is I've got everything to where we need to get everybody to record type. Looks like cost per kilowatt hour. I'm looking at QA right now. Created by, date, time, inspector, kilowatt hours per year, last modified by, op name, quality assurance name, record type, and status. Okay, we're good there. And then saving summary, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm just going down the list. Assessment name, created by, last modified by, quality assurance name, saving summary name, total energy savings. I don't think I created total. You know what? I think we got to that point you got to, and I stopped, which was the cross object formula.
Mm.
That's what it looks like to me. So the problem is that he was trying to do this. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I got this huge screen. What he just did, instead of doing that through the object manager, he was trying to do this.
Yeah.
Where we're pulling this formula field down. But the problem you'll run into is that you can't go cross object. See, there aren't any carrots over here.
Yeah.
See that? Where if you do it with the object manager like he just did. So in this case, I'm in schema. I'm just going to go to the object from schema using the little drop down there. And then I'll go in fields and relationships and we'll create, that was yearly. What do we need? Total. Yearly I created, that's what he did right there. Here's the cross object formula. So I did create that one.
Ryan, do you think it would get too confusing to do the cross object formula in schema? That's why I don't have it.
They just don't have the functionality to do it. Check it out.
Yeah, I mean, is it because it's just too hairy of a operation to perform? I mean, I don't know
They
why.
have not updated the functionality of schema since I've been involved with Salesforce.
Oh, wow, that's a shame. It's a pretty good environment.
It is a shame, but you can still, even though there are some annoying little limitations, it's still vastly superior to try to, other than trying to do it all in the object manager, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't see all this stuff otherwise, unless you go in and look at fields and relationships. You're hitting the new button. There's like a million more clicks to this. I got to do total real quick. But I think with total, I can just do that on here because I'm taking yearly times years of use. So the cross object formula has already been created. Now I just need one that's on that same object. This formula I can do because the fields already exist on this object. I don't have to go cross object. So I'll call this total energy savings.
So you have to get all the master details in first before you could do the formulas, basically, right? So you get all the.
No, it's any relationship field.
Oh, any relationship. So you have
So
to get
lookup or master detail.
Okay.
The lookup relationship exists on both, right? The little lookup field, whether it's master detail or lookup, as far as the type of relationship, it still is a lookup. So it's that parent-child relationship or that master detail relationship that is the highway that allows you to do the cross-object formula.
Right. Yeah.
Think of those, these guys right here as roads, one-way streets.
Yeah.
Right? But then with master detail, there's also, it's kind of a two-way street if you want to count some min or max, right?
Yeah.
You know, like an emergency turnaround.
You have to build those first, basically, right, before you can do anything.
That's correct. You will not be able to go cross object unless there is a formula or there is a relationship.
Yeah. No, understood that.
That's a huge leap in understanding. I hope you realize that, right?
Yeah, because now you know the method, right? And the reason why.
People do not know this stuff, so they're inferior resources.
Yeah.
Not inferior personally or spiritually or racially. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you don't understand conceptually what these relationships do, then you cannot be an effective administrator. You just can't. And you guys are seeing that now, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So for this one, I don't need to go cross object. I'm just going to take the yearly savings times the years of use, which is just a number field that I created. So that should complete all of the fields, objects, and relationships needed in this application. And they're all listed here. So what you'll notice now in my schema is that I haven't gotten in any of them to record type. But you'll notice here that I get them all to record type. There was a school of thought in the olden days that you never created a record type unless you absolutely needed one. And I adhered to that for a number of years, and you will still hear people say this, okay? I'm not saying that it's necessarily considered wrong. What I'm telling you is that from my experience, when developing Enlightening experience, using the platform app builder functionality, it is much better if every object has at least one record type. And we'll see that as we move forward and why, but I want to keep reiterating that because there is a school of thought, much like what we learned in security, sometimes they don't teach things properly. And that's what I'm telling you now. As someone that has done a bunch of projects in Lightning experience, you are much better off just getting everything to record type. So if I get things to record type, what does that mean that I have? For sure. What are the key points of record type?
You have a page layout.
We're going to have a page layout. What else?
Tabs. Oh,
no. So record type, number 1 was page layout. Number 2 was what?
Security.
I have to get my pen out.
Page layout.
It's all right. Did we forget record types? I know that we missed the classes, but then there was before that there was a couple of days I couldn't be here. But if you remember, it was record type up here. If I get it to record type, what's the first thing I have to create?
Page layout.
Page layout. Number 2 is what?
I forgot.
Number business process.
Oh, yes.
What's the business process? It's a stage or status pick list on a standard object. On a custom object, we don't have to worry about it. It's just managed on the record type itself. It's just another pick list. And then number 4 was profile, right? So what I will do at this point is I'm going to go and get every single custom object, because we already did it for the standard objects. Now I'm going to get every single custom object all the way to record type, because if I have a record type, I know I've dealt with the page layout, meaning that I've gone in and reduced it down to its simplest, least complex form. And I've created more than one if I need them. In this case, we're only going to need one each. We're going to need one record type per object. That's it. If it was a standard object, I would know that the business process has been dealt with, but there isn't one on custom objects. So I don't have to worry about step 2. Step 3, I know by looking when I see this that it has been dealt with. It's a minimum standard of quality. It is to record type. So that it's like I'm trying to get everything to record type. That's the first step, really. Create your objects, create your relationships, which is where the related lists are going to be. Then create all your other fields, formulas, and roll up summaries last. You want to make sure at that point that everything gets to record type. Do you think we're going to need a new profile for this?
Yes.
Why?
Well, how are you going to distinguish between one type of seller versus the other?
That's a really good question. How would you show that knowing what we know now?
Well, I guess when one individual chooses the record type, it will then cascade throughout to to give them the ability to do what they need to do, right?
Where do we assign record types?
The object.
On a profile?
Very good.
Was it?
Right? It's always best thought of as a profile setting, isn't it? Because you don't hit edit, scroll down, find the record type settings. But in this case, would the profile that we created work? Let's look at it, right? Let's take a look and see. Maybe we don't remember. It's been a while since we looked at security. Like what, since last class? I'm just kidding. Here we go. I mean, it never stops, does it? I keep saying that over and over. It never, ever stops.
Right.
It really doesn't. Let's see, we were what, custom sales, I think, was what we gave Joe. So if we do hit edit, what can we change? App settings.
I think we lost your screen. Right.
Oh, I'm on the wrong, I'm sorry, guys. I'm still getting used to this stuff here. I just went to custom sales profile. Set up profiles, custom sales. Do I need a separate app for this?
Could you repeat that again, Ryan? What was that?
Do I need a separate application for this, or can we just use the sales app?
Oh, no separate application. I think you can use the same one.
We can just use the same one? Why? There's one really important question I'm trying to get somebody to, I'm trying to extract it from you. You get more out of it if I can extract it from you. There's a really good question to ask every time that you're talking about whether or not you need a new profile.
Permissions, right?
Well, that's always permissions, but here's what I'm saying. So if I say, I've got nuclear weapons and umbrellas. How many page layouts are here?
2.
2.
How many business processes if these are opportunities?
2 business processes.
That's supposed to be a 1. That's 2. What's step 3?
Record type.
How many record types do we need?
2.
One.
How many profiles do we need?
too?
Well, that's where this question would play, right? Here's the question.
Oh,
Does the
wait.
user that has that profile need to sell both types
I was
of
just gonna
product and
say that.
service?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
That's it. Does the user need to sell both or just one at a time?
Right.
Do we
Depending
have
on, yeah.
a situation where we've got a nuke profile and we've got an umbrella profile? Or is that person assigned that profile going to be able to sell both? Does everybody see that?
Mm-hmm. So if, Ryan, so
Uh-huh.
if they need to, if they're able to sell both, so would you also add permission to, since they'll have, I guess, since they need to further their role
Well,
responsibilities?
if they're gonna sell both,
Mm-hmm.
we've got a couple of options. Because how have we already broken this down as far as the business processes and page layouts and everything? It's already been determined by what?
Yeah, the status and record type.
Isn't it already determined by record type? So for our case, it wasn't nukes and umbrellas, it was renewable energy and fossil fuels, right? So if they need to sell both, where would you manage it? Well, we don't need a new app, do we, if that's the case? We're still selling fossil fuels and renewable energy, and they can both be available in the same application. So I don't think we need a new app. What about tabs? I mean, everything we've already created works for that, right? What about these?
Is it field level? Security? Custom tabs. Ryan, but I see record type on the object level. I don't see it on a profile. I don't know where you got that.
Oh, you don't see it on the profile? Why doesn't he see it on the profile?
Well, I haven't checked actually, but I don't see it here on your screen.
Well, you don't see it on mine because we hit edit. If I don't hit edit, where do we control all of that? It's right here, right?
Okay.
You don't hit edit.
Selected record types. Okay.
So if they're selling both, just use the same profile. What if they were selling one at a time? What would you do? Would you need another profile for that? Once again, it depends. If they're just selling fossil fuels, just pull the renewable energy record type. If they're just selling renewable energy, pull the fossil fuels record type. That's how we're managing this now, right?
So if they just needed one of them, how would they do it then?
Well, you would manage it here. If they only need to do fossil fuels, come down here, do not hit edit on the profile, and remove renewable energy from their record type availability.
So anyone with that profile would only have one.
Anyone with that profile, if they hit the new button for an op, they won't get a choice.
So it's controlled at the profile level, though.
That's right. Absolutely. That's the beauty of it.
There's no other way. That's the only way.
Well, we could give them we could restrict this profile down, right? Let's say we give them just renewable energy. Or I'm sorry, just fossil fuels. So this profile is very restrictive, right?
Yeah.
Looking at record type.
Uh-huh.
How do we give permissions above and beyond a profile?
Permission set.
Permission set. We could create a permission set and give them the record type.
Uh-huh.
See what I mean? Where would we assign it? Where do we assign permission sets?
You assign it to the user.
Yeah, we would find the record type and assign it to the user. I haven't done this in so long. Hang on. Assuming it's here. Ops, right? I usually generally just do this on the profile. There we go. See? I could give them the record type via a permission set. So they would need the tab at the very least available, maybe visible. Let's do available as a minimum. Then they get renewable energy. What can they do with the object? Read, create, and edit. And then field level security down here if I needed it. But then, so they could start out with just fossil fuels, and I could then assign to their user record, which in this case it would be what, Joe? Probably. And I could assign him the renewable energy permissions there. Now he's got both, right?
Yeah.
His original security practices never go away. We start very restrictive. We add permission and access using different techniques, but for permission, it's always permission sets if possible. I'll tell you that generally with record types, I tend to do it at the profile level because I do keep profiles to a minimum as a rule. Sometimes I can break my own rules and just go in, okay, they're gonna sell both. Well, I don't have to go into every user at that point. I can just do not hit edit, go down and add it to that profile. They'll just sell both. The real question becomes, did it work? We all like best practices. We try to adhere to them as much as possible. But sometimes the question becomes, did it work? And I just screwed that up. But the really key point here is to remember that you don't hit edit on the profile. If you hit edit, you won't find it as far as record types are concerned. So the idea now is to get everything to record type. How do I know what's to record type? Well, I can see in schema. Record type, I know that one's done, I know that one's done. Well, this one hasn't been done yet, so let's do it. What's the first step to get an object to record type? What do I have to create first?
Page layout.
There's already one for this one. When you create a brand new object, there is already an existing page layout, but I'm gonna need to manage it anyway. So I'll go in starting at the top of the page here, just like before. I'm gonna clean this up, just like we did with all of our standard objects. I'm gonna do the same thing for each of our custom objects. And then these are our lightning and mobile lightning experience actions. These are the important ones. I'm gonna pull anything that is not super simple and easy to use. I like this edit action all the way on the left because it'll be the first one that shows up in mobile. And then I want to make sure that I can easily log calls, calendar events, tasks. I don't like to create new records that aren't activities initially. It just confuses people, trust me. I try to make this super, super simple, especially right out of the box. We can always add stuff later. What's going to control delete for me? How do I keep a user from deleting? Security again, right?
Yeah.
Object settings on the profile, cred settings. It never stops. Now we got our fields here. I'm going to pull this stuff I don't care about. And then I'm going to pull any sections that I do not need. Just making this thing as simple as I possibly can. Now I'm going to grab the fields that I need to add. So right now I'm on the assessment layout. So the name will be first. And then we have our opportunity name listed below, which is good to have because that's going to be a link back to the opportunity. Then we might have who the assessor is going to be, which is a lookup to the user object, if you remember correctly. Then we need to schedule it. So I'm going to grab this date time field. There's also a status field that is our business process. I might even put that like right here so I can see what status is it that it is in. That might even be like this, depending on when maybe you assign the assessor before it gets scheduled, would make sense there. Then I would grab the cost. Actually, we want the cost per kilowatt hour, which would probably be first. Kilowatt hours per year would be after the assessment is completed. Just back up here. And then what do we got? We got cost. This would be the it keeps jumping down on me. That would be taking cost times cost, kilowatt hours would give me cost. And then I've got potential cost, which would be our proposed cost, if that makes sense, and then potential savings. Something along those lines. I like to do them vertically in one column because I'm usually bringing up mobile while I operate to ensure that things look good in mobile. Then I'm going to come down to my related lists. Are there any related lists that I need to add? Well, it looks like I've got savings summary that I could add here, but do I really want to see that on the assessment? Where do I want to see the savings summary? Where is everything going? You think about it from schema. Where is it? What's the magic object when it comes to renewable energy? Where do I want everything to show up?
Record type?
Well, no, look at schema.
Oh, you want it in the opportunity, right?
Yeah, I want it to show up in the op, right?
Hmm.
So do I really want a related list called savings summary versus the assessment initially? Probably not. Maybe later, who knows? But what I really want here is my opportunity to be the magic object that I search for to see all this stuff for that record type. So I don't necessarily need to add that related list at this point. I mean, you could, but I'm just thinking simplicity. Because if there's no QA yet, then there's a related list that's empty. Then you can come down here, look at your related list and add fields and whatnot, make things required or not, using the soft require here. You know, all of this we've covered. So when I'm done, I just go back to the object manager. All right, I've completed that layout. And the way I like to keep myself sane, because I'm usually doing a lot of these at once. I mean, I could continue in the object manager there, but I just pull it aside. It's like, all right, I know you're the page layout. Now what? Well, I'll do the page layout for QA. I'll pull it over here. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to look at it, override global publisher classic actions because that is in Salesforce Classic. And then I'm going to override these and get them to where they're very, very simple. Only activities should be shown. I'm going to make sure edit is in the far left-hand corner. Is this getting redundant? Should be. Pull anything that isn't an activity. This is the difference between a usable mobile application and something that nobody will even look at. All right, now we got our fields again. Well, status, maybe I'll do that one first. Who knows? We'll do quality assurance, op name, status. Maybe they choose the inspector before they schedule, which would be our date time field. And then we've got our cost per kilowatt hour, which would probably be the first thing we would know. And then the cost itself. Actually, no, it'd be kilowatt hours per year that we would get during the inspection, and then we'd have an overall cost. Now we've got relatedness. Well, we're talking about the QA. Do I really want to add savings summary to the QA? I mean, it may be. But in this case, I'm going to try and stay as simple as possible and say, no, I want it to show up on the op, not necessarily the QA. Because I can always go back to the op by clicking right here. So I can save. Now I'm just going to go back to schema. Grab my next object. How do I know which one to do? Well, I've moved these two over here. There's only one left. Pull it over. Get 60, 70 objects. This will keep you straight. You know, if you try and do it all in the object manager, you're going to get lost and you won't know where you're at, especially if you have a bunch of objects and you're not an expert in the products and services of the company. You really don't understand that business process. It can get really hairy. That's why it's so important to have a good grasp of that business process throughout the entire deal. Now I'm on the savings summary. I'm just going to yank all of those again. I don't need them because this is in Classic. We're not using it. If I ever need it, I'll go back and add it. Here we are again, pulling anything that isn't an activity. I'll grab that edit action here, put it on the far left. It will let me. And then anything that is not an activity, I'm going to pull. I'm kind of looking at each one as I go. I don't want to eliminate something that they might need, but I also want it to be nice and clean. How are we going to control whether a user can delete?
Through profile?
Object settings on the profile.
Yeah.
So just leave the action. If we give it to them later with the permission set, they'll still have it as far as the action. There we go. In this case, do I need related lists? Well, there aren't any. So I got everything to page layout. What's step 2 for record types?
Yeah, business process or sales stage.
Are there business processes on our custom objects? There's a theoretical answer, there's a technical answer.
You have status.
There is a status tick list, but are we going to have to deal with it in step 2 as far as record type creation?
No.
No, because they're not standard objects. It's just another pick list on the record type. I don't have to do it at step 2. So I can skip it. So what's step 3 on record type creation?
Profiles at this point.
Nope.
Record type.
Record type. I need to create a record type for each one. So I'll go to my object of interest, record types, select new. This is really easy because there's only one page layout. Call it assessment. Not record type, just call it assessment. I'm going to enable this for every profile, but we wouldn't normally do this. You would only enable it for those who needed it. That was putting it, that's step 4. It's putting the record type setting on the profile of interest. This one, we only have one layout, so I can save and just save. That's all we need. We're done. Now I can go back to the object manager, do the same thing for QA and the same thing for saving someone.
And you wouldn't want the record types to be the same types as the opportunity record types?
No, because it's the record type. Let's say this is solar. We've been calling it renewable energy, but let's say it's solar only. What if we added a business process for wind? Do you think it would be exactly the same as solar?
Say no.
No, right? It would have a different process that they go through. So we would need a separate record type. Right now, I'm just going to call it quality assurance. But down the road, it might be solar and wind, like renaming QA, like solar QA, wind QA. So we could have more than one record type. Right now, we just need the one.
So they don't get inherited from the parent then, which sounds like you have to create, you see what I'm saying? I mean, let's say you choose the parent opportunity of record type solar, then everything underneath it would automatically inherit the record type of solar.
Yes, because that's what you would have done at that point. Right now, I only have QA for this one type of renewable, which let's say it's solar. But right now, I would just call it quality assurance. But in the future, if we wanted to add something like wind, I would rename it to solar QA.
Okay, I got you.
And then add one called wind QA. You see?
Right, so you're starting with a general name, and then if additional ones come into the mix, you'll rename this one more specifically.
Right, which is exactly what we did with ops, if you remember. And accounts. We started out with account record type, and then it was, okay, customer account. And then it was, okay, competitor account. Then we said renewable energy and fossil fuel ops. So if we have more than one type of QA, we would create another record type for that.
But we already know that we're going to have 2 different types of QAs, right? I mean, we have a QA for renewable energy and
That's
another.
it. That's it. There's only one QA, and that's for currently, and that's for renewable. Fossil fuels does not have a QA.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a different record type. So it has different business processes. It has different fields and different pick list values available, depending on which type of record that you choose. Now I'm on saving summary. And you'll notice this might seem confusing right now. If you go back and watch the video of this when I'm done, you'll see that I just did the same thing for each object, regardless of what they were called, regardless of the business process. I'm literally just going in here and giving a record type to each one. And that's just the page layout if I ever make it available to any of the profiles moving forward. And that's it. Now, another thing that we must do if we have more than one record type on an object is add the field to each page layout, but we only have one per custom object here. I got one record type here. I got one record type here. I got one record type here. So that's not necessary unless we later on add another record type for that object. So why don't we take a little 5-minute break here? We'll come back at 3:15 p.m. DST. All right. So at this point, what would you do? What have we done? What do we have to do first? Always. Gotta know our business process, which we do. That's our stage pick list on the opportunity object, and we had our stages that we went through. Then we created what? We got all of our standard objects together, and then we created our custom objects, so standard and custom. Then we did what? You guys hear me? We created our custom objects. We did our relationships. Then we did all of our other fields, didn't we? With formula and roll-up summary being last. However, I don't think we did any roll-up summaries, but all data types. And then after that, we got everything all the way to record type. Meaning that we have everything to what? Well, we dealt with the page layout, any business processes that exist on standard objects. We created the record type, meaning that we can control the pick list values and what fields users see, depending on what record type is added to their profile. Did we need a new app for this? Maybe I put everybody to sleep. We didn't. Maybe I'm on mute.
No, we
Okay.
don't, I don't think so, we do.
No, we didn't need one, did we?
No,
Did we need a new profile?
new profile, no.
No. So we got everything all the way to record type. What would you do next, knowing what we've already done?
Test it,
What was that?
testing it.
Well, you could, but what I'll tell you is if you try to test right now, it's going to be fundamentally broken. Because what haven't we done? I mean, well, it's not going to be broken, but do we care how we see it? Do we care how an admin sees this?
No, user.
So if you wanted to test it, you would have to log in as the user.
Yeah.
So what do you think the best way to do that would be? Do.
Have a user that's have access to the business process.
Well, do you want to look at it in Classic?
Mm,
You want to look at it in mobile. Why?
because you'll be at the customer site.
Yeah, who cares what the admin sees?
Mm,
Right? Nobody cares. I'm trying to create a UI here. a user interface. So I don't care what I see. I can control what I see. What I'm trying to see is what they see. So I'm going to come in here, and what I've got up here is a Chrome simulator, and this isn't the actual, it's gotten better. So we'll just see what happens. I'm going to paste Joe's username in here, and hopefully I didn't do something crazy with my password, which I normally don't. There we go. This may not look exactly like what mobile now looks like, but how would you test this thing? I'm logged in as Joe. What controls what objects Joe sees?
His profile?
Yeah, this is all security, right?
Yeah.
If you set up security properly, do you have to worry about mobile?
No.
No. What was the Lightning experience built off of? What platform?
Cloud-based, right? So
Well, Lightning experience, what we're looking at now, not this, but this, the Lightning experience UI up here is built on the mobile platform. The Lightning platform is originally mobile. So this platform, if I go to sales, what you're seeing here was built in mobile.
okay.
You see, it's the same platform. So what I do is I want to look at it in mobile. Because if it's correct in mobile, then by nature, it's correct in Lightning. What this will do is it will keep you from having to go back and fix things later.
It's not true the other way around then.
Well, it didn't used to be, but it's to the point now where you can create different page layouts for mobile and Lightning, where before that wasn't the case. So I can have a different view depending on, they call it being responsive, right? So we have more power than we used to.
Right.
So if you think about our business process, what is our user going to do first? What are we selling?
You've got opportunities, right?
Well, you're probably going to start out at the account, right? So Jack from Burlington calls us up, and he wants what?
He wants a generator.
He wants a generator. Okay, well, have you ever thought about renewable energy? You know what? I saw a commercial on that. Maybe it's worth a look, right? Where do these come from?
Page layout.
Where?
On what is that?
Think about the page layout in your mind.
On account.
Yeah, at the very top, it's the mobile and Lightning actions, isn't it? The one that I've been reducing down to the smallest number as possible on each page layout. Do you see why I do that?
Yeah.
How nice and clean is that?
Yeah.
They don't have 500 values here. Do you see why I put the fields when I develop in a column, a single column? Because I'm thinking mobile the whole time. So, all right, you're thinking about renewable energy. Okay. What does this mean that he has? If you see both of these.
It's this record type, right?
He has both record types on his profile.
Yeah.
Do you see how that is a huge leap in understanding?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can look at this and see what's happening in the background because you've had some experience with it. If not, you're going to play the bang your head against the wall game your whole career until you figure it out. When I say we're knocking the rough edges off, this is what I mean. The fact that you can see this and know where that came from is a huge plus.
Right.
Questions so far?
So what is the record type on object then?
What's that?
There's a record type on object. How does that fare into this?
There's a record type on what?
On an object.
Well, what it's doing is we have 2 record types available for that user's profile. Do you see it?
Yeah, there's 2.
If you don't hit edit on the custom sales profile, you'll notice that there's 2 record types assigned. Those end up being the buttons that the user sees in mobile. You see it?
Okay, that's fair.
So we'll choose renewable energy and let's call it Burlington Solar Array. The amount, well, we don't know yet. Let's say, we'll throw it against the wall. This is what salespeople do. How much do you think it's going to be? I don't know, 150,000. You know, I mean, that's what they do. Because it's so soon in the process, we still don't know, but we can take an educated guess. What's the stage? What do we call the stage?
This is a proposal.
Well, this is our
Open. Okay.
what do we call the stage pick list on the opportunity object?
Sales process?
It's our sales process, isn't it? So we chose renewable energy and we're walking our user through. This should actually be open to start. We shouldn't have this. What did I do wrong here?
You didn't organize them.
No, they're organized.
So default.
Yeah, I didn't choose the default to open.
Hmm.
And with processes, you should always do that. So how would I fix that?
Go back to your object manager.
Okay.
On the field, default,
Which object are we on?
stage.
Which one?
Stage, is it?
Well, opportunity
We're
object.
on the op, right? Stage pick list on the op. Fields and relationships, find my stage. Can I choose the default? Not there. About here. Can't do it, can I? Note to self.
Ryan, is it under the profile?
You're saying here?
Yeah.
Well, that would be the default record type, not the default stage, is what you're thinking. I would do that with the process builder, frankly. I'd say if an opportunity gets created with the record type of renewable energy, do a field update on the stage field to open. I just wanted to show you that. Right? I mean, that normally you would want this to be a default, wouldn't you? But open means what? Open means it comes in, nobody's looked at it yet. Now it's in the assessment stage. What is the whole point of the assessment stage? Close date, I'm gonna say, I don't know. Throwing it against the wall again. Who knows? 2021. How do I do that?
Were we,
There we go.
did we make that default?
You can't. Not unless you do it with the process builder.
Okay, got it.
And then, you know, whatever our lead source was, it would have come over from the lead object. Save. So now I've got the op. What happened? What's the whole point of the assessment?
To assess their current costs.
Okay, so what's the problem here? Does anybody see?
I don't see a way to.
So we got the op to the assessment stage, right?
Mhm.
We came down to related. What's missing?
You're missing your assessment details, right?
We're missing
The page to be able to add your assessment data.
what is the assessment in Salesforce? What is it physically? Assessment. What should you think of?
I guess it'd be your activity.
Cost.
Yeah, the cost,
Cost.
the current cost versus if they were to get the product, how it's gonna affect them, benefit them.
Check this out. This might help. So if I go to the very beginning here, the home page, and I want to look at an op as a user, and I'm going to go to the one I've seen most recently. Here's the solar array, the one I just created. But I want to add an assessment record to this opportunity. And I go to the related lists area. What is he missing?
Cost.
No, how about a new,
Is
I
it,
mean, you're creating a new opportunity, or what's the,
what is he assessing on?
He is not seeing the related list. Do you see
Right.
that?
the assessment related list, right?
He is not seeing not only the assessment related list, but any of the others.
Right.
Okay.
Do you see?
Mhm.
So what is the problem then? Whoops. Anybody? What would you do here? This is a really perfect case study. This is what you do for a living as an admin. Oh, I'm missing a related list. What do we know about related lists?
Have the details, right? Some of the details.
It's going to be a parent. Wait, what are we talking about? What here?
Parent-child relationship
The
here?
relationship, right? Does the relationship exist?
Yes, one to many.
How do I know?
Have the lines.
You can see it.
Yeah.
The field is on the record. Do you see it? The field is on the child.
Yeah.
So the problem isn't that the relationship doesn't exist. That would be the first thing I would go look at. Well, did I relate the objects together? Right? Which I did. I can see them here. So what next? It's not that. What else do we know about related lists?
Every parent has an owner and every child has an owner.
You're talking about relationship, key points of relationships now. What I'm saying is, how many related lists should the opportunity object have?
3 there.
Okay, so how do we control which related lists a user sees?
Would it be with the page layout?
Yes! That would be the next place I would look, right? You see it though, Chris, right? I mean, you're like the page,
Yeah.
that would be the next place I would look. So I'm going to go to my first object and say, you know what, did I just forget? I'm sorry, it would be actually on the op. It's like, did I just forget to put the related list on the page layout? See that? Because the problem is I don't see the related list here. So we're talking about renewable energy. Did we do it?
I don't see it down there.
I don't see it. Box 1, related lists. Which ones do we want to add? Well, we'll start with assessments. Actually, it would probably be something like this. Assessments, and then products, because you would be creating your proposal from the products that you choose. But I will say, generally speaking, products tends to be the very first related list on ops. So depending on the org that you're in, it could be one way or the other. I like to go in order of the business process. The assessment will happen, then we'll choose the products that we want, then the proposal, then the upgrade, well, buying decision, upgrade, then QA, right? What's the problem? What don't we see? What happens after the upgrade?
QA.
The QA, what don't I see here?
You have QA up
Oh,
there.
there it is. Okay,
Yeah.
I see. I'm sorry. I thought I forgot to do that, which was going to be a really good case study, but it's there. So I add it. And then finally, saving summaries, right? And then for each of these, I would definitely want to add the fields. So we get the assessment name, the status, the assessor, cost per kilowatt hour, kilowatt hours per year, cost. Ooh, date time needed to be out there for their status, assessor. Yeah, it'd probably be more like that, but that's fine. Cost, potential cost would be the proposed cost. And then potential savings would be our formula field. And that's just going to put those across the bottom in a way that makes sense. And I'll do the same thing for QA. I want to keep them close. So what we have assessment was the name and then the status. And then the inspector, which was the assessor on the assessment side. And then date time. Date time for the inspection. And then what else do we have? Cost per kilowatt hour. Kilowatt hours per year. And cost. So you got a bit of comparability there. I could probably move some things around and make them match better. And then saving summary, what do you want? Well, you want yearly energy savings, years of use, and total energy savings. And then save. So then, now you got to keep in mind that this app in Chrome is no longer supported. So it doesn't always work perfectly. This app I'm showing you here on your, this is why I always use my personal phone when I'm doing this kind of thing. I'm always on my phone and I'm constantly checking mobile. So we'll go to the solar array and then there's our details section. Then we went to related. And what we're going to find once again is that they aren't there. Now, just to be sure, if I see this, just to be sure, I want to go in Lightning and look, because maybe it's, you know, phone issue, it's glitching. Like, just go and do yourself a favor and look in Lightning to see if it's not there, because you can do the 20-hour troubleshoot here and come out and find out that it was working. It was just a little jacked up. That's interesting. It's not. Oh, I had to refresh my browser. No, still not. That should be under recently viewed. But I'll just search solar. Oh, I'm myself. I need to be Joe. That's why. You see how this is always a gotcha game? There's always one little thing. It's like, oh man, I forgot I didn't log in as Joe. Or, oh, I'm logged in as Joe. Or, oh, the profile doesn't have. It's just always a puzzle. And if you don't look at it as a puzzle, it will drive you insane. There's always a solution. The system isn't broken. Here we go. Now I'm on Joe. So if I go to opportunities, look at my Burlington solar array. Still not there, is it? So what's the problem? Obviously, the page layout was a problem because it wasn't on there. But now that I go and look, I still don't see it. What are we going to do next? What do we have here? What is the problem? The user goes in, they look for an op, right? What aren't they seeing?
Related lists.
They don't see the related list. So we thought, and rightfully so, we said, well, that could be the page layout. And then we went to the page layout and we fixed it, and we came back and looked again, and it still didn't work, did it? So while that was an issue, that was a part of the issue, it is not the entire issue. So now you got to think, it's a visibility issue. What do we always do with visibility issues? Who owns it?
Joe does.
What's he get?
Full access.
Which means what? View, edit, share, transfer, and delete. So we've already got the highest level of access we can get. Where do we go next?
Roles.
OWD.
Well, OWDs are set to what? We already know that. Do we? Good catch. But that is a good catch, because what are our OWDs set to for these new custom objects? Do we know?
I think we did that, did we?
Did we?
I remember seeing that.
So we're not sure, are we? However, does that matter in this case?
No, because you're full.
Because you already own it. Right? You own the record, you got full. I don't have to go to OWDs. You already have full in this particular visibility issue. Now, in my own mind, I'm thinking, what are those things set to? Where do I find OWD settings?
Security shared settings.
Good. You're gonna be one hell of an admin, Chris. I see a strong future for you outside the realm of recruiting.
Oh man. This is just to help qualify candidates better.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Whatever. So, what's wrong here? First of all, I'm logged in as Joe. I couldn't change them if I wanted. What are they set to? I mean, they're set to currently assessments controlled by parents. So whatever the op is set to is what they're set to. So they're private, aren't they? But in our case, it doesn't matter. What's Joe already have?
Access.
full, right? So then what do we do after they get access? Where do we automatically go?
Permissions.
So let's go look at the profile, right? Whose profile?
Sales.
Yeah,
Customer service.
Joe's profile. Who cares what I see?
Mhm.
So then if I do hit at all, logged in as Joe, right? It's always something. So if I go to Joe's profile, which is custom sales, I'm now myself. If I do hit edit, what can I change? Well, is it an app issue? What's an app? Group of objects and relationships that meets a business requirement. What about tab settings?
Object.
You need tabs?
Display of an object.
What about object permissions? What's the problem?
Doesn't have view access.
Yeah, do you see how, yeah, okay, so now the page layout's fixed. We need to give them read, create, and edit for the objects that we're working with. Or they won't see it. In that case, they'll have access but no permission.
And those objects automatically get shown up here when you create them in the schema.
That's correct.
Mhm.
When you create them in schema or otherwise.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's see what happens now. The interesting thing is there were no tab settings for those that I could find. It used to be the tab settings, from my experience, showed up. See, I don't see them up here. Assessment. And I don't see any tab setting in my custom objects either. For the custom objects that I created, which I don't understand that. Usually you have those because you can make them on, off, or hidden for the profile. Not quite sure. Maybe because they're master detail. I'm not really sure why that is. I've never really noticed that before either. Maybe they did something last release. Anywho, doesn't matter. Let's test it. Not all opportunities, but there's our solar array. Then in our related lists area, hopefully this caught up, which it looks like it did not. There we go. Hey, look, there they are. Did anyone have an aha moment, or was that just like, oh my God, what just happened? You see how I'm using mobile to test the app and then fixing the app as problems arise? I mean,
Right.
it's testing, it's troubleshooting, but it requires a full understanding of security. It requires a full understanding of page layouts, record types, field creation. I mean, the whole thing comes together now, doesn't it? Where before we were just kind of shooting one arrow at a time, and now I've got 50 people shooting arrows at once at different targets.
And we would have seen the same problem, I think, in the app itself, not outside of
Yeah,
mobile.
well, definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. But I'm looking at it in mobile because if it looks bad in mobile, then I just need to fix it. Because it could look pretty in Lightning, but look like crap in mobile. So usually if I have it set up in mobile first, the Lightning app looks pretty good. I don't have to mess with it again. It just saves my clients billable hours, and it saves me a lot of headaches and time to build it and then test it in mobile. Because we're going to layer on the record pages here in a minute, or in the next class. So the assessment name here, let's call it the make the assessor. So I make it me. Oh, wait a minute. Why can't it be me? can be Joe. What's the problem?
Only Ryan doesn't have the permission.
Is this an access problem?
Yes.
It is? Who created the record? Or is in the process of creating the record?
Joe did, right?
Joe, right? So who would own it if he created it?
Joe.
Him. So what access would he have?
Well,
So is this an access problem? That's the highest level. What's the highest level of access you can get?
Full.
Full. So is this an access problem?
Mm,
He owns it. What's the owner get?
full access.
Full. What's the highest level of access you can get?
oh,
So is this an access problem?
no.
Mm,
No. So where do we go if it's not access?
permissions.
Do you see how this always works? All right, so let's go to the profile. Which profile? Whose?
Joe's.
Joe's. Who cares what we see? I want to see Joe's profile. I'm going to show this to you because you would never find it on your own. I did the 20-hour troubleshoot on this years ago. So I know what it is. But just the thought process goes like this. Is it an app problem?
Mm,
What's an app?
For functionality, objects
Group of
that
objects and relationships that meets a business requirement. Where do we find them? The app launcher. Is this an app problem?
no.
No. Is it a tab problem?
No.
What's a tab?
object.
Visual representation of an object. We know we can see the object because I can see Joe. The object is what? What's the object? They're saying people, but what is it really? Is Ryan internal or external?
Ryan's internal. Joe's internal.
So internal people get assigned what?
Profile.
User. What's a user? See this one?
Uses internal.
View all users. See that one?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, you won't see all the users. So know that that exists. It's a permission in your system permissions. If your profile doesn't have it, your lookup fields will get all jacked up because they don't have the ability to see all of the users in the org. So make sure you check that box. That's one of those deals where you could spend a million years. Try this again. Assign assessor here, which would be Ryan. There I am. See?
So by default, that's not checked. See all users.
Make sure that thing is checked on your custom profiles.
Right.
Cost per kilowatt hour. Well, here's our status. Right now we're in open, but currently we're trying to do what?
Joe.
Schedule it. What made it to where this was already open? It wasn't none. Why was it already set to open?
Default
The
status.
default pick list value on the status field. Very good. Now, I can already see this date time field needs to move up because we're going to schedule it before we can enter the data. So how would you move that date time field on this object?
Page layout.
All right, so where am I going? Which object?
Opportunity.
Nope.
No assessments.
Assessment, right? I'm on the assessment right now.
Okay.
So I'll go to the page layout. I'm just going to move that field. It's not in the right place for mobile. So I'm going to go down here. I'll grab that date time field and put it like right here. Probably move that status on here. Probably be more like that. Said this doesn't always get updated perfectly. So I know we're getting close here, so. Status is, we are in the open status cost, we'll say 0.09 cents, so 9 cents kilowatt hour. Let's say they do 100, let's say they do 1 million kilowatt hours per year. And let's say we're going to schedule this thing for the 29th, which means our status is now set to schedule. And we would put a time in here. Potential cost is going to be whatever we assign our opportunity as far as products and services. So let's say the potential cost of the install would be $150K. So now we have an assessment, and let's stop right there. So at this point, we have created an assessment record on our opportunity. So we could then go to the proposal stage here, which is how we got our numbers for the proposed cost. So when we come back on Thursday, we will continue what we're doing. I'm going to continue to test this thing in Classic, and it is also happening, as you can see, in Lightning. So I can do it all in mobile, make sure it looks good in mobile, and then I can just go back and look at it in Lightning. I need to be Joe for this.
And that mark stage as complete functionality is just inherent. I don't think we did anything special with that, right?
No, yeah, I just clicked on the path here and hit mark stage is complete.
All right, that just shows up automatically. Okay.
It goes to the next stage.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do the same thing with the stage pick list. It's exactly the same thing.
Okay.
But if you look as Joe here, what we'll end up seeing is everything we've created so far. I figured this mobile alongside Lightning thing in reality, like doing a project, it makes it so much easier. Like, do yourself a favor and do this. Because when you go into Lightning and look, did I not log in as Joe? I don't think I did. All right, one more try. There we go. Nice and slick there, looking good. Go to my opportunity record. I mean, better yet, we say go to Burlington account. Associated with the Burlington account, we've got one opportunity here. Is there one? Just one. And we'll go to the Burlington solar array. And there we are. We're in the proposal stage. There's our details section as set up in our page layout. And this, we have one assessment here. Click on it, you should see the specifics of it. Think we're going to sell this job?
No,
We're not.
because you're gonna lose money.
Yeah, so let me lower the potential cost. Let me say it's 50,000. Think they might buy it now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It all comes down to what we propose and how we decide to show our energy savings over time. This is why I mentioned doing some exponential growth on stuff. But with that, we'll go ahead and stop. Hopefully everybody got something out of today. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'll make sure the recording is up ASAP. If there's any questions, I'll stay online here for a moment.
Ryan,
Yep.
I know you just said the recording's gonna be, you're gonna try to put it as soon as possible. Are you gonna try to do it today? Because I think I missed out a few things here in
Yeah,
today's
sure.
recording, so
Once it converts over, I'll make it happen.
definitely need to watch it again. Thank you, I appreciate that.
No problem.
All right, thank you. I'll see you on Thursday. Talk to you Thursday.
Yep. See you then. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.